station of Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Florida.
All day in the district, rain. Rain. Until about 5:30, the rain stopped. The tarp was on. Baseball is on time at Nationals Park. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Todd Hollinsworth. This is a 4-game series that starts here on a somewhat wet Monday night. And for the Marlins and the Nationals, it's a rematch of that 3-game series in Miami, and the Marlins took 2 of 3 from the Nats.
Marlins have played very good baseball against the Nats this year. In fact, have a winning record. So, again, that's expected. It's going to be a big challenge starting tonight with Scherzer on the mound. But this team's playing better baseball. Nice win yesterday in Atlanta. Yeah, it's going to be a tough series in 4 games.
So, rematch between the two teams. And right out of the chute, we've got a rematch of starting pitchers. Though it was an interesting game, wasn't it? We'll start with Max Scherzer. His biggest highlight was this.
First home run of his career, gets an 0-2 hanger. That cut fastball, it's going to be a big pitch for O'Grady tonight. Well, he needs to keep it out of the middle of the plate. You see right there, Scherzer jumping up and down and celebrating that long home run. Well, guess what? About 5 minutes later, he's giving you a no mas sign. Yeah, that's what that means. One pitch to the backstop, and that's all it was. He was out of the ballgame.
He went just an inning. The Nationals had a 6-0 lead in that ball game, and guess what? The Marlins came back and won it. Now, the home run he hit was against Chris O'Grady. O'Grady went to college in this area, Fairfax, Virginia, at George Mason. He gets another shot at this Nationals team, who just took 2 of 3 in Chicago against the Cubs.
They certainly did. Played better baseball in Chicago. But for O'Grady, it really comes down to his cutter. There's just such a big difference between that pitch and everything else he throws. 4-seam fastball at times gets hit hard, but that cutter has been so good. 159 batting average against with the lefties in this Nationals lineup. It's going to be a big pitch.
So it's Mad Max against the local kid who comes home to start against the Nationals. It's the Marlins. It's the Nationals. And it's the first of 4 here on Fox Sports Florida. at Washington Monday. D. Gordon in the box. Let's play baseball. Max Scherzer delivers. Gordon pops it up in the air. Down that third base line. Long run for both Howie Kendrick and Wilmer Defoe. And it's Kendrick who makes the catch. One pitch for Scherzer, one out. Miami's lineup is brought to you by Southwest. D. Gordon, Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, Marcelo Zuna's in the cleanup spot. JT Realmuto is back behind the plate. Derek Dietrich had a nice series in Atlanta and is on a nice 10-game ride. Tomas Talis at first, Micah Vilas is at short, and Chris O'Grady in the 9 spots. Stanton and Scherzer. And a slider misses away. Max Scherzer is having an incredible year. ERA of 2.21.
He certainly is. Here's your scouting report, sponsored by Auto Nation. Scherzer, 6'3", 210 pounds, 33 years old, two-time Cy Young Award winner. See the strike right there. 5-time All-Star, best right-hander in the game. 2.21 ERA, half a run better than the next closest right-hander. That's right, Corey Kluber at 2.75, 169 batting average against. He has allowed 17 homers. So we're going to keep that in mind. Here's why. 7 guys in the Marlins starting lineup have taken him deep. Early often for the fish. That's more specific. You saw D. Gordon swing at the first pitch. Here's why. There's some vulnerability there. That's where you actually find the good numbers against Scherzer at the front end of the count. That's typically the case with aces.
That's a swing. So says Manny Gonzalez at first base. Nationals defensively behind Scherzer.
5 pitches in for Scherzer. He is rolling already. All right, here's the Nats defense for tonight's ball game. Howie Kendrick in left field. Goodwin's in center. Harper, who usually is in right field. Rendon, Defoe, Murphy, Zimmerman. Wieters had a big day yesterday in Chicago. He's catching Scherzer.
Christian Yelich now. Neither team took batting practice today. The Marlins did take some infield practice. And both teams coming in last night from different parts. The Marlins from Atlanta, where they beat the Braves yesterday. And the Nationals had a comeback win against the Cubs, highlighted by catcher Matt Wieters' grand slam to bring the Nationals all the way back and put them up on top. And so Washington, as they have been seemingly since spring training, comfortably on top in the National League East, which will make Dusty Baker smile. You can still see some drizzle falling, not a very heavy rain. Scherzer right now living at 94 with his fastball.
I'll tell you what, Dusty Baker's pretty happy to see his ace back on the mound tonight after what happened in Miami. He had to take himself out of the ballgame. So far the signs have been good. Look for this Marlins offense to be aggressive early in the count. As I said, that was the last key.
Fastball, Yelich just gets a piece at 95. There are your matchup numbers. Yelich has as good a numbers as anybody in this Marlin lineup. 2 homers, 21 at bats, and 7 hits. Another fastball, and Yelich stays alive. That is fielding Kulbrecht behind home plate. Manny Gonzalez, as we said, at first. Brian Addison is at second, and C.B. Buckner at third base. Everybody gets a rotation, and will have home plate in this 4-game series. Yelich takes out. What was impressive, certainly, about the Nationals beating the Cubs in that weekend series is they did it without Scherzer. They did it without Gio Gonzalez. They did it without Steven Strasburg. 2-2. And many felt that that's a preview of a division series matchup if all the wild cards do come out of the West. And the Cubs hold off the Brewers / Cardinals / Pirates in the Central. You see Dusty Baker's career resume, a lot of wins, a lot of postseasons. Swing and a miss. Max Scherzer The neck feels good. And he goes 1, 2, 3. George Mason's own Chris O'Grady gets the ball next. Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Jeep, by Vico Painting Contractors. Find out more at www.vicopainting.com. By your local Toyota dealers, let's go places. And by Southwest, transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Yeah, it's wet here in Washington, D.C., but baseball starts on time. This guy's used to this type of weather. Chris O'Grady went to school at George Mason University, nearby Fairfax, Virginia. Grew up in New City, New York. And he gets a second crack at these Nationals. They did not treat him well. 6 runs in 3 innings. Of course, he left. The Marlins were down 6-0. Fish came back and won the ball game.
Took him 75 pitches to get through those 3 innings. National hitters were on him, and when they weren't, they were putting together good lengthy at-bats. As we mentioned, that cut fastball is going to be huge today. Lefties in the lineup for the Nats, and their lefties handle lefties pretty well.
Brian Goodwin leading it off, and Goodwin takes down low. Howie Kendrick and Bryce Harper right behind. The story of the Nationals not only is a gaudy 65-44 record. I know that doesn't sound that great considering what the Dodgers are doing, but it's pretty terrific. Swing and a miss. And O'Grady handles Goodwin for the first out. Here's the rest of that lineup. Goodwin, Kendrick, and Harper. Ryan Zimmerman has cooled off of late. Daniel Murphy never seems to be cool. He's in the 5 spot. Anthony Rendon hitting 6th. Matt Wieters had the grand slam yesterday. Wilmer Defoe keeping the seat warm until Trey Turner is back. And Max Scherzer hits 9th. And of course, Scherzer homered against O'Grady. So did Kendrick.
Kendrick had a career day in Miami. The start Chris O'Grady made, went 5 for 5 that day, including the home run you just talked about.
Howie Kendrick is not a guy that's known for his power, but he got all of this one.
Pitch out over the plate, got his arms extended. He used the entire field all day long. Had a couple hits to left, a couple hits to right, as he has done. Very good hitter throughout his career, good numbers, and is earning more playing time with a really talented Nats lineup. He's kind of worked his way in there every day.
Nationals have some significant injuries, much like Miami does. Breaking ball, ground ball. Derek Dietrich crossed the diamond in time. It's Tomas Talis over at first. The rest of the defense lines up this way.
Let's hope it's a winning combination for the Marlins tonight. Defensively, Marcell Ozuna's in left field. Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton is your outfield. Dietrich Aviles gets the start at shortstop. D. Gordon back in there. Talis over at first. He has a home run against Scherzer. Real Muto O'Grady is on the mound.
JT handled first base quite well. In fact, he enjoyed himself, looked great doing it. And Don Mattingly said after the ball game he's going to see some more first base. Now Harper takes down low. Still the primary catcher, but on days where he needs a little bit of a rest, he'll be at first. There's Harper. And a 1-0 from O'Grady is a strike.
You got to be careful of Bryce Harper in the first inning. 12 home runs this year, 24 RBIs in the first inning of ball games. John Lester on Saturday.
Swing and a miss on a fastball. That's amazing. This is 93 games against the Marlins already. Swing and a miss. Chris O'Grady comes out. Not only goes 1, 2, 3, but punches out 2 Nationals. This ball game's underway and scoreless. Nationals Park, home of next year's All-Star game. And it feels like, and it looks like, home for the postseason this year. It's that first round All-Star game logo unveiled. Got the Capitol building in it. Marcell Ozuna sends it towards the actual Capitol building, scattering some birds. It's a long strike and the count's 0-1. Ozuna, Real Muto, and Dietrich. Now Marcell has homered twice against Scherzer in his career.
He's coming off a nice ball game as well. Homered in yesterday's game. Big 3-run home run in that first inning. Really set the tone for the day, as we were talking about. The Marlins offense needed to start rolling. Stanton had done everything in that Braves series. And Ozuna once again responded. Now has 87 RBIs on the season. That's third best in the bigs.
0-2. Got him. Fastball. Scherzer does give up home runs. He is not afraid to challenge hitters, especially with nobody on base.
See the elevated fastball just below the letters. A couple of sliders down, climbs back up. Scherzer does. A lot of the evidence you see against Scherzer, it's not that you're going to wear him down. So if you think you're going to get in the box and see a whole bunch of pitches, you're kidding yourself. There's no evidence to support that. Lengthy at-bats don't do anything to Scherzer. In fact, being aggressive early, and I think it goes all the way back to why you saw D swing at that first pitch. First pitch of the game, you want to be aggressive. First pitch, 286, 1-0, 318, 1-1, 323. Those are where the good numbers lie. It's early in the at-bat. So watch for Marlins hitters today. Probably be a little bit more aggressive early in the count.
Realmuto takes a fastball out. Now JT at first base yesterday homered, singled. He's got 4 hits in his last 6 at bats, but he's not had great success against Scherzer.
Well, he has not, only 1 for 14 in his career.
Realmuto left field, that's deep. Back goes Kendrick at the wall, and he's got it. 377 feet from home plate. Kendrick is not an experienced left fielder, and it showed there.
Well, certainly drifted all the way back to the point where he caught the baseball. He didn't really do it. He didn't fly to the spot. That's what you want to do as an outfielder, but he did get himself there, and with the hang time was able to, well, corral it. We'll leave it at that. Sigh of relief from Max Scherzer.
So a long out number 2, and here's Dietrich. And a breaking ball for a strike. The fastball, which Dietrich, or rather the Marlin hitters have seen a lot of. Dietrich saw a breaking ball. And we've seen Scherzer get strikeouts with that fastball. In discussion with hitting coaches and with hitters, the fastball isn't the first thing they talk about with Scherzer. It's that nasty breaking ball and how well he spins the ball.
Well, it's the one pitch he gets the most swing and misses. 184 swing and misses at that slider this year. In fact, hitters hitting 109 against the pitch, Rich.
Dietrich lines one to center, hits it well. That is over the head of Goodwin into that corner. Dietrich to second, and he'll hold there. And Eric Dietrich continues a really nice run. It's a 6-game hitting streak.
And it's filled with all kinds of slug, that 6-game hitting streak. Now, 2 doubles, a triple, and a homer. He gets all over this fastball, doesn't miss it. Key to hitting Scherzer is when you do get a good fastball to hit, you do something with it and you put it in play hard. Dietrich, nice time, gets the front foot down, squares up and drives it over the head of Goodwin in center field. As good as Scherzer is, that fastball a little easier to hit. 226 batting average against, Rich.
Tomas Talise now. Talise trying to get a little bit of something going offensively. It's been a challenge for Miami, that first base spot. Tyler Moore had such a really nice first half, especially filling in for a stretch when Justin Bour was out. But with Bour out now, neither Talise nor Moore are going offensively.
And that's why you hear Don Mattingly talk about JT Realmuto potentially getting more opportunities over at first base, maybe getting A.J. Ellis in the game a little bit more. Talise does have a home run in his career against Scherzer in 3 at-bats. That's the start tonight.
That's it. 1 career homer, and it's against this guy.
2-time Cy Young Award winner. It's easy.
Scherzer, that's his best fastball so far at 96. And it was in on the hands and off the plate. And it counts 3-0.
Talise is putting together a quality at bat. Scherzer was hoping he would chase outside the zone. Talise has not bit. He has not gone off the plate.
At the letters for a strike. You get to 200 strikeouts as a starting pitcher in a season.
Right there after
You've had a really nice year.
Scherzer's
already there.
Get to 200 strikeouts with 2 months to go. Is that good?
He's at 204 now, and that leads the majors.
I saw that. I think it. I saw 6 consecutive 200 strikeout seasons. I kind of giggled at that.
Outside corner.
He's got 10+ starts left this year, I'm sure.
Well, the Nationals are hoping he has about 15 or 16 more starts left. They've had enough of just the regular season and early exits.
Well, Scherzer's going to be big. I'm telling you, he is having the best year of his career right now. Nats could not be happier. They have, say it, the best right-hander in the game right now.
See what Talise gets on 3-2. Dietrich's at second. Fastball. Sounded like he busted his bat. Murphy has it. Fires to first in time. Miami leaves that runner still scoreless in D.C.
A guy that at that point in his career, what the game did to his body as far as catching, and he was pretty beat up. He did the ballpark every day early and prepare for every single game, and he was he took control of that clubhouse. He's one of the best leaders I've ever played with.
Baseball lost a couple of very big names, big people, in Darren Daulton and Don Baylor. Daulton, of course, a part of that 1997 Marlins World Championship team. Baseball reacting today, and you heard Jeff Conine talk about Daulton. It's really fascinating to hear all the different people and their memories of both players. But for Daulton, Larry Anderson, who's a broadcaster now with the Phillies, was a teammate of Daulton's in Philadelphia. Just talked about what an incredible teammate he was, and how he picked up everybody in that clubhouse.
Heard he was a great leader. I had the privilege of meeting him. One time, our careers crossed paths only near the very, very end of his and the beginning of mine. I met him behind the batting cage. I believe it was either in Florida or in Philly. I know I talked to him one time, and it was real short, but very much like you just said. Said the right thing at the right time, and that's what I keep hearing from some of his former teammates. Whether a guy that needs a pick-me-up or a little bit of a scolding, Dutch Daulton was that for everybody.
Well, this is not a good sight with Don Mattingly, Dustin Looper, one of the Marlin trainers, out. Here's O'Grady on that last pitch. And that does not look good at all. He grabs towards that left side. Actually, it looked like he grabbed the right side and around the right rib cage. This is certainly a big start for him because it's back home. It's very close to George Mason. It took a long time for him to get to the big leagues. And right now, everybody just listening to O'Grady. Dustin Lupker is the trainer. You want to err on the side of caution with a starting pitcher. Odrisamer de Spagne is fresh and ready to go. And so that may weigh on Don Mattingly's mind as well. And O'Grady has convinced everybody that he's fine, and we'll keep a close eye on him. You can stand down in the bullpen.
Well, the Marlins will watch every pitch from here on out very carefully and very watch any kind of body language, any kind of emotion with that face, and certainly in the bullpen. So everybody's going to have to be on red alert from now on. I mean, there's obviously something there that he's either working through or feeling.
Zimmerman at the plate, 3-0 pitch, and it's out. So a 4-pitch walk. Back to school time. And on Saturday, August 12th, the Marlins and the Rockies play. The first 7,000 will receive a Marlins backpack courtesy of Del Toro. You can get your tickets at marlins.com/tickets. If O'Grady shows any sign, you would expect he'll be out of this ball game. Walk to Zimmerman. This is not a lineup that you really want to go through trying to feel your way around the plate, because they'll hurt you in a hurry.
Yeah, certainly. The Marlins, what stood out in the series at home, that 3-game series that the Marlins took 2 of 3, was that they were able to control the middle of the lineup. Harper 2 for 11. Zimmerman, in fact, 0 for 12. Daniel Murphy 1 for 7. Now
Murphy pops it up, shallow right center. Out goes Gordon, settles under it, and makes the catch. A big out to get. And you know what? He's hurt. O'Grady is hurt. You could see it in his face. Watch this last pitch.
he's pulled a muscle in his side. It appears something is irritating, that it's not going away. It's not something that it's not a muscle spasm that has calmed back down. You see the look right there. I don't believe the Marlins really have much of a choice but to take him out of this ballgame.
Well, he looked sharp, certainly in that first inning. He struck out 2 Nationals, including Bryce Harper, and a Florida lottery call to the bullpen, and a really tough break for the lefty. It's going to be Odrisamer Despaigne, who comes out of Miami's bullpen. He will have as long as he needs to warm up because of the injury. Despaigne had been starting quite well down in New Orleans, and so he's called upon here to hop right up on the horse and face one of the best offensive teams in the National League, if not the best offensive team in the National League.
Well, it's going to be a tough road.
Florida lottery called to the bullpen. Odrisamer Despaigne getting set to warm up in DC. Called to the bullpen, brought to you by the Florida Lottery. Get a $6 value for $5 when you ask for the grouper from the Florida Lottery. And with so many life-changing prizes, get your group ready. Florida Lottery, it's your ticket. Claim it. Must be 18 or older to play responsibly. Well, the last time Chris O'Grady and Max Scherzer matched up, remember, it was Scherzer that came out in the second inning. Now, oddly, less than a week later, they're head-to-head again, and it's O'Grady who comes out with some sort of issue in his side, it looks like. And the Marlins need Odrisamer Despaigne to come on in and battle Max Scherzer and the Nationals.
Good opportunity for Odrisamer Despaigne. Fastball, cutter, curveball, change. He likes that changeup as well. The cutter's a big pitch for him. You see the numbers. Those are his career numbers in the 4 seasons. So if you're wondering if he's ready for the start, in fact, he is. Listen, he appeared in 20 games down with Nola, started 10. He had a 3.09 ERA overall, but as a starter, a 2.83 and 47 2/3 innings. So he's been doing work in Nola. He's been making starts. He's probably ready to take on this workload tonight. So it's going to be a matter of results. And that's what it comes down to. So hopefully he's on his game. And sometimes you can turn these bullpen games into W's. It happens all the time in the game. You see these games where your starter goes out. You can mix and match all the way to the very end.
T-Mobile Unlimited Baseball break for the Dodgers. Hyun-Jin Ryu, along with some bullpen, shut out the Mets. Jose Martinez hit his first career grand slam. And Chris Young still going. 3 for 4 with a couple of home runs. And Boston wins the Battle of the Sox. Anthony Rendon now. Now Rendon absolutely crushes left-handed pitching. And he climbs in. He gets a look at Despaigne with Zimmerman at first.
Well, he's having a fantastic season, lefties and righties, although he is coming off a slow road trip for 14, so struggling just a little bit. It's a 143 batting average, but Rendon, like many of the Nats, loves to hit here at Nats Park. OPS well over 1,000.
One of the things that Marlins told Despaigne when he went down to New Orleans, they wanted him to be more aggressive and pound the strike zone. They felt he had a tendency to work outside the strike zone, trying to get hitters to chase. Good pitch there, and Rendon fouls it back. It's 2-2. This is obviously a challenging 4-game series against the division leaders. This offense in this building. And Don Mattingly in game 1 not only is facing Max Scherzer, but he's lost his starting pitcher to an injury. And Rendon is hit. Despaigne gets him.
On the top hand. 2-strike pitch. You see this a lot of times with guys who start with open stances, kind of come in and close up. They have a harder time getting out of the way. Of course, this one heading up and in right out of the hand of Despaigne.
Now it's 1st and 2nd. It was a changeup. It was at 80 miles an hour. And here is Wieters, and certainly Wieters was big man on campus yesterday at Wrigley. From this side of the plate, blasting a opposite field grand slam.
Yeah, got a hanging curveball from Carl Edwards Jr. of the Cubs. Turned the fortunes of the Nats around. They ended up taking 2 of 3 in Chicago.
Wieters a liner to right field. That's a base hit. Zimmerman around third. Up with the ball is Stanton, and the Nationals are on the board. And Matt Wieters, who finished off the Cubs, opens this series with an RBI hit.
I believe this is another off-speed pitch. Yeah, another changeup up in the zone at the belt. Wieters able to get up and around it. Pulls it into the hole on the right side. Good Zimmerman all the way around from second base, and the Nats offense is rolling.
Wilmer Defoe now for the Nationals at the corners, 1 out. And Despaigne misses in. You saw in that shot about 2 minutes ago a row of Nationals sitting on the bench. There was a pretty good contingent of the injured folk there, including Trey Turner. Turner had that fractured wrist. Adam Eaton was in that group. Here's a look at Turner.
Got a glimpse of him taking ground balls in Miami, in fact, early before batting practice. Making his way back.
Bouncer up the middle. Avila steps on the bag, fires to first in time, and Despaigne gets a double play. But the Nationals are on the board. Scherzer has a 1-0 lead. Marlins have lost O'Grady. We're headed to the third.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Miami Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and the descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins.
In Washington, D.C., Max Scherzer, neck checks out okay. He's on the mound to open up this 4-game series. Mike Aviles, who's at short tonight, takes a fastball for a strike. Well, Driesimer Despaigne is on deck, and then you've got D. Gordon. A Derek Dietrich double is the only damage against Scherzer in the 2 innings.
Aviles got the start tonight. Good career numbers against Scherzer. It goes back to some of the American League days for both of these guys, but Avila 6 for 20. It's a 300 batting average, 4 RBIs against Scherzer.
Aviles left field, hit deep down the line. It's hooking, and it's foul. Now the count's 0-2. Here are the numbers you noted. 0-2. Pitch runs in. Now those American League days for Scherzer were in Detroit. For Aviles, a lot of those were in Kansas City, so same division. Scherzer won one of his Cy Youngs in Detroit. He really from the midpoint of his Detroit run to where he is now, his ERA seems to be shrinking
every year.
Every year. It's down at, as a career now, it's at 3.30. Breaking ball, bouncer short, Defoe. That's close. Bang, bang. And Aviles is out.
Let's take a look at that one more time.
Little
slip
slip
down the line, little slip.
In that replay where we had the audio up, it's a great indicator of how an umpire's mechanics on that play are. It's watch for the base and listen for the glove. This is a super slow-mo from next door. Interior of the glove.
Yeesh.
That's
really
close.
Really close, but I'm not sure enough to overturn it. He doesn't slip out of the box. He beats that.
Despaigne goes after a fastball. Defoe to first. And a couple ground ball outs for Scherzer here in the third inning. Vance Worley tomorrow for the Marlins. He was dominant against these Nationals his last time out. And A.J. Cole for the Nats. Gio Gonzalez will go Wednesday against Adam Conley. Tanner Roark and Dan Straley on Thursday. All night games. Gordon takes a fastball up. Marlins return home for their first look at the Colorado Rockies. Doesn't that sound odd? Same league, and you don't see them until mid-August.
Just watching their story, really all season long. They've been hanging in there out west. Obviously, part of the wild card conversation, trying to keep up with the Dodgers, along with the Arizona Diamondbacks, but they've hung in there.
It's a terrific interview on MLB Network today with Walt Weiss, skipper of the Rockies, and it was obviously about Don Baylor, who was the first manager in Rockies history, and a long relationship with that franchise. 1-2 pitch to Gordon, and Gordon fouls it off.
Lake Street Bombers.
Yep. And Don Baylor led him to the postseason. He was the National League Manager of the Year. If you haven't heard, Don Baylor passed away today, as did Darren Dalton. We talked earlier about Dalton and his ties to the Marlins and that great '97 run. 1-2 to Gordon. A swing and a miss. Scherzer. 4 strikeouts for Max Scherzer. Nickname was Groove, an MVP, Manager of the Year, and a great man, Don Baylor.
Marlins 1-0. Max Scherzer due up this inning. Last week, he joined the group of pitchers that rake. It was last Tuesday's meeting between the Marlins and the Nationals. Scherzer off of Chris O'Grady. It was a 3-run shot, the first home run of his career. Not only did Scherzer love it, his teammates got a kick out of it as well. Adam Eaton sent out a series of tweets. The first one said, "We'll never hear the end of it." The second one said, "You think I'm kidding?" He'll be reminding us hitters of that for years to come. Hashtag see, hitting is easy. Right, Todd? Hitting is easy.
I don't know about that. If hitting was easy, we'd all be doing it forever.
Scherzer into center. That's a base hit. So his last swing was a 3-run homer. This swing is a knock to center. And although his neck was bothering him a bit in the pregame warm-ups in that game, it was a rather vociferous celebration in the dugout.
Well, 2 for his last 2. Marlins continue to try to get Scherzer out on the inside part of the plate. Can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but I am. Yeah, that's 2 hits. Got a 2-0 cut fastball from O'Grady last time, and got a 2-seam fastball right there from Spanier.
Line drive, caught by Gordon, turns and throws, and got him at first. Great catch there, too, by Talise. Wow. That was a seed. And Talise is just happy he caught the ball.
Oh, beautifully done. Good one. Done a lot of damage with the bat this year. A rocket off the bat. Nice leap and a grab by D. Gordon. Good hops. Spin around and good toss. But Talise right there making a nice catch. Some legs coming at him from Scherzer.
Bang Bang catch of the game brought to you by Bonefish Grill. For great fish, great cocktails, and great times, and great plays, head to Bonefish Grill. Howie Kendrick now. This is Odrisamer Despaigne on the mound. Chris O'Grady saw 5 hitters and left with an apparent injury. And as soon as we get word, we will pass it along. It looked like a side. He was holding not his pitching side, but the right side in the rib area. Spanier misses in. And Howie Kendrick with a 2-2 count. Long-time Angel is Kendrick. Count stays 2-2. Did he go?
He did.
Yes, he did. Despaigne gets a strikeout. A 1-0 lead for the Nationals. Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, and Marcell Ozuna take their swings at Max Scherzer. honors the wounded Warriors and some of the troops. They have great seats behind home plate. They stand up, take a bow in between innings. And tomorrow, many in the Marlins traveling party, players, broadcasters, Todd, you and I are headed in that direction. John Solsa, our producer, going as well. We'll be going to Walter Reed Hospital to visit the wounded Warriors tomorrow. And on Marlins Live tomorrow night, we'll have some of the highlights of that trip. Christian Yelich will be there for sure. I had a chance to do that 3 years ago, and just incredibly inspirational, awe-inspiring to see those brave women and men that have been wounded, some of them severely, and the courage they have, the strength they have as they rehab from their injuries. Stanton takes outside. The count is 1-2. So that's a trip we all look forward to tomorrow to Walter Reed Hospital. Giancarlo struck out in the first. And Scherzer almost gets him. Actually almost got the batting gloves. Stanton with the new closed stance, and we've discussed it, is much more comfortable with a pitch like that turning into it rather than opening up to it.
No, by comparison, Rendon, when he was hit, he's kind of exposed. He's got the opposite with his stance. His stance is open. He comes slightly closed, but again, almost turned right into that pitch. Stanton can turn his shoulders back away. He's been on a little tear of late. Last 12 ball games, 333 average, 6 homers, 14 RBIs.
Got him. So Giancarlo's gone down twice against Scherzer. 5 strikeouts for Mad Max.
You really see the separation between his pitches, using the slider low in the zone and the fastball up near the letters.
Yelich now. Yelich, strikeout victim himself. The strikeout and Scherzer synonymous. We talked about 200 strikeouts. That's off maybe Scherzer's glove. It's in the center. Yelich has got a hit. And he takes a turn and holds there. So a base hit, second hit of the night for the Fish. The ballpark pass allows you on your mobile device to have a ticket for every game in August and September at Marlins Park. And it's just $29.99 a month. Restrictions do apply. Download MLB.com ballpark app or visit marlins.com/pass today. It's less than $3 a game. Here's Ozuna.
Strikeout victim his first time up.
I don't think anybody's immune to that tonight. No. Scherzer, you hear that grunt of his before he delivers.
I always find it so interesting, especially this particular part of the ball game, that second time through the lineup. Obviously, the Scherzer stuff is outstanding. We've talked about his slider, 109 batting average against, very good fastball, good movement. Likes to use it up in the zone. It promotes that aggressiveness that hitters have, but Scherzer knows that.
Ozuna skies it into right center. Harper and Goodwin converge, and Harper makes the catch.
In a lot of ways, the chess match with Scherzer and the Marlins lineup really starts at the beginning of the at-bat. Hitters are trying to be aggressive against him. He knows it, so what does he do? I mean, even the first couple times through, a couple of hitters, he started them off with sliders.
Real Muto now. Now JT hit one to the wall and left, right at the 377 sign. Of course, he homered in his first at bat yesterday.
I thought JT was going to defeat the curse of the 5 spot in the lineup versus Scherzer.
Can you explain that?
I will. I thought maybe we were going to get a pitch there in, since we didn't. All right, here you go. Max Scherzer against number 5 hitters. is the best in all of baseball. Any pitcher versus any spot in the lineup. Number 5 hitters against Scherzer. 2 for 60 on the season with 2 singles. Now, please don't ask me to explain. I'm done. That's all I've got.
It is a tough one to explain, but I will say this. It's interesting because, to me, it's the position in the order, and a number 5 hitter is usually a pretty good hitter. And what's fascinating is on that list that you compiled, there's a better spot in the order, and there's a pitcher that we know that is the best in baseball against that better spot.
That's exactly right. Hold on 1 second, everybody. Pulling for JT right there. I'm hoping he defeats him. So as I said, 2 for 60 now against the number 5 spot in the lineup. That's everybody in baseball. Scherzer just owns it, the number 5 spot. All right. Marlins' very own Jose Urena is outstanding, Rich, against the number 2 hitter in the lineup. And I completely agree with you. You know, most of the list is compiled with pitchers against the number 9 hitter, particularly the National League. Makes the most sense, right? They've got to hit. So pitchers are going to stockpile numbers against other pitchers who hit. Urena's got an .082 batting average against the number 2 hitter. How about that, huh?
That is impressive, because you're right. And he's, what, 4th on the list of having the best success against a spot in the order?
Right. And the other 3 top spots are all versus a number 9, basically, in the National League.
So Scherzer's great against the 5.
Number 5 hole hitter,
is great against the number 2 hitter.
Correct.
0-2. Down low. Wieters eyeing Yelich at first. JT, his slugging percentage continues to climb. Yelich runs, Real Muto hits, and it's rolled to Defoe at short, who throws him out. 2 hits for Miami in the ball game, and that's it. 1-0 Nationals. Marlins Live tomorrow night. Get you ready on an email and Twitter Tuesday for the Fish and the Nationals. Vance Worley, A.J. Cole. Marlins have played the Nationals very well the last 2 seasons. Bryce Harper in the box, Ryan Zimmerman, Daniel Murphy follows. And Harper blasts one right center field and deep. and gone. Despaigne hung it, and Harper lost it.
Well, he started the heat up in Chicago. That's obviously carrying over into tonight. With O'Grady his first at bat, gets the righty back on the mound. Despaigne to pitch at the top of the zone and drives his 29th home run out to right center. See where the breaking ball bottoms out at his thighs. Pitch recognition starts early. It starts above the belt. Very, very hittable pitch for Bryce Harper.
Zimmerman pops one into the seats. On Fox Tracks.
Yeah, that's the give and the take of the breaking ball. If where it ended up is where it started, it would have been down in the zone and it would have been a better pitch. But when you throw a breaking ball, especially to a Bryce Harper in the world, if you're going to start it up at the belt or above the belt and drop it into the zone, especially if he's ready to swing the bat, that ball's going to get turned around an awful lot. That's a very hittable pitch, especially down the middle.
Now, if you just tuned into this ball game and you're asking where's Chris O'Grady, he left with a right oblique strain. And he is day-to-day. He faced 5 hitters. Odrisamer Despaigne came out of the bullpen. Gave up an RBI single to Matt Wieters. And now a solo homer to Bryce Harper. Zimmerman has cooled down after an MVP-type first half. Full count, 3-2. See, that pitch was in. That liner ricochets in the corner. A foul ball. There's that second half.
The incredible first half, a bit slower second half. I'm sure that's too much of a tell. Still a lot of the season to go. Goes 2 for 8 in the series versus the Cubs with a couple of walks.
That is strike 3 called. And Zimmerman strikes out. We check in with Jessica Blaylock. Jess?
Hey, Rich, just a few weeks ago, teams around the league had the opportunity to hold their Game of Thrones night. Well, one player that's a huge fan of the show, that would be Mets pitcher Noah Syndergaard. And not only that, he had the opportunity to appear on last night's episode. He was a soldier in the Lannister army, and to play up the fact that he throws strikes, he had the chance to throw a spear through the chest of an enemy of the Lannister family. Now, I'm not going to ruin it for you, no spoiler alerts, because I haven't seen the episode yet, but here's how that happened. Syndergaard's agent got in touch with the producers of the show. They told them that he had named 2 of his gloves after Jon Snow and Tyrion Lannister, and the producers decided, hey, we've got to have this guy on the show. So during the offseason, he flew to Spain, filmed the episode. It aired last night. How cool is that? Noah Syndergaard was in Game of Thrones.
So what you're saying is he got the start, but you're not telling us whether he got the loss or the win.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
All right. Yelich calling for it. Daniel Murphy is 0 for 2. And Despaign's got a couple of outs after the Harper home run. Here comes Anthony Rendon.
For Despaigne, that's the goal. He's got to give this Marlins staff, this Marlins team, some innings and keep the score close. Let's not forget Max Scherzer's on the mound for the Nationals tonight.
It's about half a schedule in baseball tonight. The Marlins, one of the few ball games out here on the East. There's a strike. Pittsburgh leading Detroit 1-0 in the 3rd in Pittsburgh. It's a former National, Jordan Zimmerman, pitching for the Tigers, and the Reds have a 3-2 lead over the Padres in the 4th in Cincinnati. Everything else is either in the Midwest or out west, with the Cubs in San Francisco tonight, Cardinals and Royals in Kansas City, and Milwaukee is in Minnesota. To see where the Milwaukee Brewers dressed up in purple.
They did.
In honor of Prince, because they're headed to Minneapolis to play the Twins.
I was quizzing you about that last night. I think that it kind of got me. I believe they were playing the Rays, and then I thought, well, wait a minute. Now the Brewers are playing the Rays and then going to play the Twins? That's the way the games are nowadays.
They are in the throes of interleague play.
Yes, right. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Well, watch that Milwaukee game, too, because Milwaukee has crept back a little closer to the Cubs.
They're hanging.
Play the Giants tonight. Jake Arrieta, Matt Moore in that ball game. Here, right now, it's Odrisamer Despaigne against Max Scherzer in 2-0 Washington. Marlins, in taking 2 of 3 for the Nationals, were able to keep some of the big bats of the Nationals in check last week.
Yeah, that really was the key to that winning the series, the 3-game series. Harper, Zimmerman, even Murphy. All were held in relative check throughout the 3-game series, and the Marlins were able to not only come back in a ball game in which Scherzer came out of, but it's pretty much the Nationals' offensive output for the entire series was in that early in that ball game against O'Grady. And Twirly had an outstanding performance.
Rendon got a breaking ball, hits it to left. Ozuna back, track, makes the catch. Hops up against the wall. Nationals stretch the lead on a Harper homer, his 29th. Brought to you by Jeep. By Hankook Tires, chase down your passion, never halfway. And by your South Florida Chevy dealers. Bryce Harper with a solo homer.
Is that clean-shaven Bryce Harper?
It is.
Or as clean-shaven as it gets?
Oh, it gets cleaner than that. But
Does it?
But that's as clean as it's been for a while.
He's had a healthy beard for most of the season.
Dietrich, Talise, and Aviles. And Scherzer fires one in there for a strike. 5 strikeouts for Scherzer. Gives him 206 already on the season. This is just his 23rd start. Remember, his 22nd start lasted all of 1 inning.
Good signs from Dietrich. Double already in tonight's ball game. Doubled over the head of Goodwin in center field, all over that fastball. That's been the big change for Dietrich as he's heated up here in August. He's been able to get back on the fastball. Started turning 94 and 95 around again. His confidence is now rising.
How did that not hit Dietrich? Because just about anything that's over in that batter's box,
I got an answer.
It's drawn to him like a magnet.
That's right. Watch his feet. He actually got out of the way. He didn't mean to. That's why he's kind of getting on himself right here. Stuff cracks me up. Watch Derek. Watch his face. He's like, man, see? He knows how to get hit by a pitch. I'm telling you, it's an art.
Swing and a miss. All right, 90s throwback is coming to Marlins Park. And that's on Sunday, August 13th. For 7,000 fans, get a 90s themed Marcelo Zuna Big Bear t-shirt. And that is courtesy of Pepsi. Stay after the game for the post-game concert with Salt and Pepper. It's one of Todd Hollandsworth's favorite groups. In fact, Todd will be on stage with Salt and Pepper, and I will be wearing these cool Marcelo Zuna shirts.
I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Tomas Talis lashes one to left. Around first, Talis not stopping, and he is safe. It looked like he was going to challenge Howie Kendrick from the get-go.
Well, that's not a bad guy to challenge. You've got a infielder by trade playing left field. Nice job right there, staying on that fastball. He drives it to left. And it's an easy read for a base runner. Lefty out of the box, he comes around first. He's got eyes on everything that's going out there with Kendrick, so he's got a good read. Kendrick gets over and cuts it off and gets it in faster than you see it happening. You can always stop even halfway and make your way back to first base, but not here for Talis.
Mike Aviles is 0 for 1. Talis now in scoring position. Marlins have 3 hits, the Dietrich double, Talis double, and Yelich's single.
Hitters against Scherzer, runners in scoring position, 179 on the season, as you'd imagine. Most numbers stack towards Scherzer.
That one fouled back and out of play. We wanted to pass along our best wishes and truly keeping our fingers crossed for David Phelps. Phelps left yesterday's doubleheader with a pain in his throwing elbow. For Seattle, the trainers had to come out. He left the game. He's headed back to Seattle to have that elbow examined.
I'm wishing him the best. That's some real unfortunate news.
Aviles stays alive. Pitcher spot is up next. Ground ball. Rendon cuts it off and fires on over to first to get the out.
Part of the aggressiveness, Rich, The Marlins offense is based on what you see from Max Scherzer early in the count. Very, very good as far as Marlins hitters, as those numbers would tell you. 1-0 count, 318, 1-1, 323. Now, as Scherzer goes along, so you see 47 strikes of the 63. Part of that is the aggressiveness of the Marlins hitters. In an 0-2 count, hitters are hitting 063, 1-2, 125, 2-2, 085. So you get yourself into that hole, you can get yourself in some trouble. That's why you see hitters be a little bit more aggressive at the front end of these at-bats.
Because of where Miami is right now, O'Grady coming out, Despaigne coming in, there's really no thought at all to pinch hitting here. Marlins need a couple more innings out of Despaigne as if he's their starting pitcher.
There's no off days coming up anytime soon, and you've lost your starter, and now you're using Despaigne out of your bullpen as a starter. So Despaigne is obviously going to be down a few days. The work he's logging in tonight's ball game, so you're going to be a man short unless there's a move to be made.
Despaigne at 38 pitches. I'm sure Despaigne didn't come with all the hitting accoutrements when he arrived from New Orleans. I'm not sure whose bat that is. Might be his. Probably not. The helmet might be his.
Probably is not.
Probably is not.
Sitting a little high on his head, have you noticed? It looks.
My guess is the batting gloves are his.
You think he's got batting gloves?
Yes. I think he was able to get some. Here's a 1-2. Despaigne into center field. That's a hit. Rounding third is Talise, and he will score. Odrisamer Despaigne. I don't care whose bat it is. That's a big hit.
How dare I? How dare we? Odrisamer Despaigne. 1-2. As I said, hitters hitting 125. And Scherzer, well, guess what? You make a mistake to Despaigne up, out over the plate, he'll rip you into center field. He doesn't care who you are.
Now, wait a minute. Did you just say if you make a mistake to Despaigne?
Hey, that's a one-hopper through the middle. He's earning stock right now. That's right. Third big league hit.
See, I think if you're talking about Alfredo Despaigne, the great Cuban slugger.
Yeah, I think I'm overselling it. You're right.
That would be accurate.
I think he's about 3 for 60 now in his career.
Here's Gordon.
You know, when your starter leaves a ball game, it just throws everything off a little bit. Despaigne comes into the ball game, throwing the ball pretty well, and he's keeping this thing in check. Told you, you went up against Scherzer, you got to keep this thing close. Nice swing of the bat.
Gordon shoots one down the left field line, and it's just fouled. Had that been fair, Despaigne may have had a shot at scoring. Because remember, you got Kendrick in left. That's a tight left field as well. Despaigne was running with 2 outs on contact.
Rich, halfway through this ball game, the Marlins are playing this up to their liking. This is what they've done against the Nationals over the last couple of seasons. They're pretty good at winning one-run ball games. The 14 wins they've got against the Nationals over the last two years, half of them have been one-run victories.
Time called. The count 1-1. Miami has a run here. And that man knocked it in. Odrisamer Despaigne. Gordon hits it in the air and into the seats. Scherzer ready. 1-2 coming. Well, D's hanging in there. Counts 2-2.
He's shortened up a little bit. Kind of letting that ball, trying to let it get as deep as he can and just kind of fight it off with his hands. Watch D put this out there every now and again. He'll ground himself with his feet and he take no stride at all and just use his hands and try to take the barrel of the bat to the baseball.
Now the 2-2. He's elevated twice to Gordon. Now it's 3-2, so this will give Despaigne a head start. Stanton is on deck. Here's a look at D on the bat.
He always likes to choke up just a little bit, but I think with Scherzer right now with 2 strikes, he's just trying to battle. It's what you do. He's doing a good job laying off those elevated fastballs at 94 miles an hour. Scherzer's missing his spot. He's climbing the ladder way up. He has not gone up there out of the zone yet.
Breaking ball, Gordon lines it to right. Harper is there and he makes the catch, but Miami's on the board. And it's Odrisamer Despaigne who does the deed with a line drive hit to center. It's 2-1 now.
Ichiro to right and deep. Back goes Parra to the wall, and it's off the wall. 3,000 is in right field, and Ichiro is racing for third, and he's done it. Parra made a leap for it and couldn't get it. He's climbed the mountain, a triple. And he has arrived at 3,000.
Hard to imagine that was a year ago today. Geico presenting that moment in Mariners history.
I got to tell you what, partner, that was a great call. I got some chills right there. That was outstanding.
That one fouled back. Great moment in Marlins / Mariners / MLB
Yankees
/ let's see, what was his team? Oryx, the Blue Wave, NPB,
Yep.
National Professional Baseball. Those are all the teams that Ichiro played for. Fastball from Despaigne and a good one. Wieters swings and misses. Counts 0-2.
Ichi continues to embarrass all of us 40-somethings that haven't been playing for a long time. I'd see him out there every day stretching and just getting himself ready, and then I watch him turn on 93, 94 miles an hour, and he is a special hitter.
Well, you know, the lack of playing time for Ichiro this year it's fortunate and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for Ichiro, but it's fortunate for Don Mattingly that the Marlins have the 3 outfielders of the caliber they've got, and they've all been pretty healthy this year. There really hasn't been an injury that's put anybody on the shelf for 2 or 3 weeks.
Having spent some time in my career towards the end in the role, you're absolutely right. You show up for work every day, you're hoping for more opportunity, but when your opportunities don't come, it's based on the fact that the guys in front of you are playing so well. Marlins and the Nationals have a couple of the best outfields. That's what's on display here tonight. Lots and lots of production. The Marlins offensively, outstanding season all across the board with their outfielders.
2-2. Wieters fouls it back. If you measure by OPS, these are the 2 best outfields, right?
And number 1 and number 2, the Nats at 879 as a team, and the Marlins right behind them, 875, 1 and 2. OPS, that's on base percentage and slugging percentage combined.
There's a roller towards second. Gordon has it on to first. The other factor too is, you know, the Marlins have been struggling to try to get to 500. If the Marlins had the same record as the Nationals, there would be more opportunities to rest an Ozuna or a Yelich or a Stubb, and you'd probably see a few more starts for Ichiro.
Well, we've talked about this an awful lot. I get asked this all the time. You see the Marlins at 52 and 57, only 5 games under. How they've hung in there. Well, the top half of this lineup, it's very top heavy. You've got 5 guys who've already got over 100 hits. Real Muto's having a great season, so is D. Gordon.
That's just over the head of Aviles. Yelich cuts it off. Big turn by Defoe. And he's back to first.
For this Marlins outfield, they need to be intact and out there every day if they hope to win baseball games.
Well, here's the hitting hero for the Nationals in his last 2 starts, and that's Scherzer. A 3-run homer in that short start less than a week ago in Miami, and a single his first time up here. Now remember, he hit the home run in a bunt situation. He had squared and pulled back and then blasted one. So if he squares here, watch out.
That's how he actually hit the home run. If he wasn't bunting right there, I'm convinced he wouldn't have hit it. If he would have just been swinging the bat with 2 strikes, he probably wouldn't have hit the homer. He squared around and it really shortened up his swing. Here he goes. Maybe.
He may be a better hitter than he is a bunter.
Well, you and I, we were explaining this a few days ago. I can't remember who was doing it a couple of ball games ago, but when you square around like that, when you kind of half go at that, very difficult to do. It's almost like bunting for a base hit when you don't want to tip your hand. Well, if Scherzer's going to bunt, he really needs to square around. You're not going to bunt 93, 94 miles an hour by kind of half-heartedly doing it. There you go. See it? Now it's different this time. That's what you're looking to do. If you're a pitcher, you're trying to do the job. You're not trying to trick anybody. There's no point in masking it. Now, he was able to do it with 2 strikes because, well, none of the Marlins were expecting him to do it with 2 strikes.
So the moral of the story is don't half.
We won't use baseball language here because this is a family show. But you're right. Yes, we got to have that kind of deliberate attempt, especially from the pitchers. You want to turn around?
Yeah, see there.
There it is. Well, that's what he's trying to set up. So, but again, when you play that game, you've got to commit to one or the other eventually.
And don't half. See, my dad was a Marine, and so when he reminded me as a kid, he used that a lot. Don't half half-heartedly
do
things.
That's right.
like clean your room or run down to first on a ground ball to short, stuff like that. Two balls, two strikes. Defoe the runner at first. Scherzer squares, pulls back. And Espana now runs the count full, 3-2. Well, we'll see. I mean, it would be a gamble to send Defoe. Scherzer hits a looper to right. Stanton charges in. Gordon comes out, and it's Stanton who makes the catch. I'm always amazed that those two, the little guy in Gordon and the big guy in Stanton, have yet to really have any sort of collision of significance in their time together.
Well, Stanton's always going to win that. Number one, he's bigger and he's coming forward. Obviously, D. Gordon's going back. So D's got to be elusive. He's got to do his best to make sure that the ball is going to be caught. Sometimes that communication breaks down, but he should default to the bigger guy who's coming in, and Stanton, and he knows that Stanton's playing shallow in that position because Scherzer's hitting.
Here's Goodwin. He struck out in the first. He hit into a 109-mile-an-hour double play. Whew. Can we say that now in the era of StatCast?
It's appropriate.
Do you think StatCast has that category? Hardest double play
I bet they do.
On the year. He had a line drive to Gordon, who made a difficult catch and throw, and doubled up Scherzer at first.
That question raises a question in my mind. I'm going to do my best to get that answered tomorrow. I don't think it matters. You and I talk about this. Do you feel better just because you lined into it? You know what I mean? Well, I hit it 109 miles an hour. See, in my era, we were like, the uglier the better, as long as they got down. We wanted all the hits. That's it. End of story. They didn't care about StatCast or any of those numbers. Now, he hits the ball hard. Certainly, the game recognizes a good swing off the bat. So is it a good thing? I mean, like, how do the hitters think today? Is that a bigger deal to them than maybe my generation would have thought? We frankly didn't care. We wanted the hits.
Yeah, but who was the best hitting coach you had?
Clint Hurdle was
all right. So if you were in a slump and you lined out 3 times in a game, Clint Hurdle would tell you, "Hey, you're right there.
Yeah,
don't change a thing."
Sure.
And he didn't have StatCast to back it up, but that was kind of his message, though, right?
Right.
All right.
It didn't make us feel any better.
No, it didn't help your average either.
No, it certainly did not.
Hunter Cervenka in the bullpen. Goodwin now with a count 3-1. Wilmer Defoe's at first in a 2-1. Nationals lead, bottom 5. Good pitch to Espana. He seems to be more aggressive. He seems to have taken what the Marlins told him going down to New Orleans and brought it back up here.
Yeah, he really has, and it's all of his pitches, not just the cut fastball, not just the curveball, not just the changeup. All of his pitches have been working, and he's been fearless tonight. He's been commanding his pitches. As I told you, the numbers were good in his 10 starts at AAA.
Defoe runs, strike 3 call. Espana dispatches Brian Goodwin. 2-1 ball game, and a good one here in D.C. game. Last half inning, D. Gordon was expecting a runner, but look at the reaction when he went down. He was looking at that left forearm. Here's Stanton. Takes a slider out. And then Mike Kozak and Gordon headed towards the clubhouse quickly. We'll keep an eye on that. For now, it's Stanton, Yelich, Ozuna against Scherzer in the 6th in a 1-run game. And Stanton takes outside. And it's 2-0. And D's back on the bench. That's a great sign.
Smiles back. That's an even better sign, don't you think?
Yes.
A good start to the Stanton at bat. Laid off a couple of tough sliders. Those first 2 times up, he chased, really set himself up. Going outside the strike zone.
96 on the fastball. Scherzer struck him out swinging in the 1st and in the 4th. Changeup, and he did not swing. Wieters in that sequence put down all 4 signs, and Scherzer shook and shook and shook until he got the changeup.
Yeah, it's the one he throws the least. Only throws it about 8% of the time, so it's a pitch that's not considered too often.
He's put 5 down now, and Wieters just said,
now you're just making stuff up.
To heck with you. If you don't want one of those 5, you don't have a 6.
Wieters is going to have to take his glove off next time.
Here's a 3-1. Fastball, Stanton, left field deep. Back goes Goodwin, looking up, and gone. This game is tied. Giancarlo's 37.
He continues to talk about his in-game adjustments, his in-game improvements. After striking out 2 times against Scherzer, has made the adjustment, laid off the early sliders, earned himself a better fastball, and once again does not miss it to left center field. Look at that, 96 miles an hour underneath the letters. Remember that home run we talked about against Foltynewicz? Yeah, very similar.
And remember the sequence of signs, because Scherzer shook off about 3 signs before settling on this fastball, and Stanton absolutely crushed it.
Well, he earned it. First 2 at bats, he fell behind. He became, well, very, very defensive, only because Scherzer's out there and he's got to defend multiple things down in the count. That at bat, he stayed out in front. He laid off those first 2 sliders. He worked from in front. Those numbers I keep reminding everybody about, well, that's why. Stay ahead of Scherzer. He likes to challenge. He doesn't back down from that challenge. Stanton wins it.
This equals a career high for Stanton at 37. It's the 3rd time in his career he's had 37 homers in a season, and that's a career high. 1-1. Yelich takes up. Yelich didn't like that check swing call for the only strike of the at bat. But he's 2-1 against Max Scherzer. The Marlins even here with the Nationals on a night where they lost their starting pitcher 5 hitters in. Chris O'Grady has a right oblique strain. And Yelich goes to 3-1.
And for the first time tonight, Scherzer showing some vulnerability. 3rd time through the middle of this lineup.
Missed. Yanked a changeup, and Yelich trots down to first. A walk from Scherzer is his first of the night. Fox Sports is proud to team up with Girls on the Run in their dedication to empowering young girls and instilling confidence through running. Learn more about how you can get involved by visiting foxsportsupports.com. Ozuna takes a breaking ball out. Scherzer's pitch count climbing to 85. A Stanton homer, a walk to Yelich. Ozuna's 0 for 2. Mike Maddox of the Nationals. Breaking ball, Ozuna pulls it foul.
Ozuna turned around a breaking ball early in yesterday's ball game. He's been seeing an awful lot lately.
Marcel hits this one into center. And Goodwin backs up. Makes a catch. That's the first out of the 6th inning. JT Realmuto is the hitter.
You see Ozuna frustrated. Mistake. Hanging changeup there from Scherzer. Got underneath it, skied at the center.
Drew Steckenrider in Miami's pen. Hunter Cervenka is ready. So D. Trainer, the bullpen coach there. Used to be the bullpen coach, was just down there to, hey, you know, get loose. Looking good, feeling good. And now that's a little more complex. You've got scouting reports.
Yes, indeed.
You are in the middle of warming a pitcher up. You're not talking about, hey, your fastball looks good. You're talking about, all right, you're probably going to face Kendrick, Harper, and Zimmerman. Remember, Harper, we're trying to do this. Right. Remember, Zimmerman, we're trying to do this.
You're scripting the workload. That's exactly right.
And you know, one of the things in baseball, and the Marlins have this in their dugout, they may have it down in the bullpen, but I didn't see it in his hands. You can use electronic devices that are not connected to either Wi-Fi or cellular, and you can have video, you can have numbers on those iPads or tablets. Oh, 2. You cannot be watching Game of Thrones.
Is that why no cellular or Wi-Fi? So no TV watching?
Well, and that's, look, that's to prevent other scouting endeavors that might not be above board.
That's right.
That's the rule in baseball. Oh, 2 to Realmuto. Scherzer's not happy.
You know, I really don't blame. I know all pitchers get mad when hitters call time after they've been waiting, but Scherzer's been holding the ball for a long time all night as well. I mean, how many times have we watched Scherzer come set and hold for a good 5 or 7 seconds? I mean, he's done it a few different times. It's why in fact JT's calling time. He's up there getting stale.
And he strikes out on a high fastball. So Scherzer, his 7th strikeout. And here comes Dietrich, who's got a double, and he is struck out.
This has been the pattern that has worked for Scherzer many times tonight, using breaking balls down in the zone and then elevating with that fastball. Top of the lineup has been able to steady themselves this 3rd time through and not chase up there. Fortunately for JT, went after a high one.
Yelich leaning at first and running. Pitch is taken. Throw is late. Rolls into center field. Yelich is on his way to third base. So a stolen base, a throwing error on Wieters. Yelich is now 10 of 11 in stolen bases this year.
Well, he picks the right time to go. That's what Yelich has done a fantastic job of this year. Gets a decent jump. It's a breaking ball. Wieters up and throwing. He's got a tailing action on that ball. Unable to keep it on the infield, and Yelich all the way over to third base.
Pitches by inning, 21 last inning, and of course the pitch here in the sixth, the key one, the ball that Stanton hit deep into Miami's bullpen in left field to tie the game. Now Dietrich with a chance to give Miami a lead, and Scherzer really humping it up. You can hear him grunting with every fastball.
Well, and here's how the circumstances change. Yelich now all the way over to third base, a base hit gives the Marlins the lead, where at first it's not the case. That's why Yelich was in motion. Now even a pass ball might get this done.
Well, the Nationals bullpen hasn't budged. Scherzer at 93. Remember, he threw a couple of breaking balls at Dietrich's feet last at bat. That's a little more dangerous with Yelich at third. Looks like a fastball here. And he got him. 96 on the fastball. The one fastball that didn't get by Giancarlo Stanton. This one. Number 37 ties the game at 2. Let's see, Giancarlo Stanton has homered. Bryce Harper has homered. And here's the sequence on the Stanton home run.
That's some exciting stuff. We talked about how hot he's been on this road trip. Look at him lay off two tough sliders. Didn't do that earlier in the at-bat. All right, that's a good fastball to hit. It's a little down and he misses it. Now there's a little communication between Wieters and Scherzer. Now they're trying to figure out what 3-1 pitch to go at Stanton with. They decide to go low and away with a fastball, and what does Scherzer do? It drifts back out over the plate. You see it right there, almost making its way back. Stanton all over it. 96 miles an hour, splits the plate and redirects it. In the pregame show today, I talked about how good he's been on the off-speed pitches, and then I chimed in on the end and told you how good he was against the fastball. 588 slugging percentage. That was 96 miles an hour. So he's not just hitting off-speed pitches for home runs, he's hitting fastballs too.
Drew Steckenrider for Miami. It's Howie Kendrick. The Marlins have really had to piece it together with the Chris O'Grady going out in the second inning with a strained oblique. Dreesemer Despagne came in, and Despagne gave the Marlins 3 2/3 innings. Steckenrider now. And of course, Scherzer has gone the distance so far for the Nationals.
Steckenrider doing what he's done lately. Last couple of outings has been outstanding, including one against the Nationals in which he rolled through the middle of their lineup. Right through the heart of their lineup. See the numbers. That was on Tuesday. It was August 1st. Picked up a hold in that ball game. It was Harper, it was Zimmerman. Picked up a couple strikeouts that inning. He pitched against Atlanta as well, and it was a very similar result. Steckenrider getting a lot more leverage from manager Don Mattingly.
1-2 is in. Slow bouncer short. Aviles on to first to get the outs. Kendrick is out. And before Harper gets comfortable, let's check in with Jessica Blaylock.
And earlier, the Washington Nationals will host next year's All-Star Game. You can see that logo right beside me. Now, one guy that has said he would love to participate in the festivities, especially the Home Run Derby, is Bryce Harper. It would be his first one since 2013. He has been invited throughout the years, but he has declined each time. He would not say no in 2018, however. And he is a guy that certainly is familiar with hitting home runs in this ballpark. We saw him do it earlier in the game in the fourth inning.
All right, thank you, Jess. That certainly would add some buzz and some fun. It was really great moments to have both Stanton and Bohr for the Marlins in the home run hitting contest this season. That All-Star logo displayed up in right center field. Good running fastball by Steckenrider. 1-2.
Reminds me of the spot the Marlins really attacked. The last series in Miami. They were able to get Harper to chase at his hands a few different times on tailing fastballs. We've seen Steckenrider go right back to that same spot. Two-seam fastball. That upper corner of the strike zone.
Dietrich up near the Skittles tarp. The Nationals unveiled a new tarp today, and when the tarp is out on the field, it's a giant rainbow, which when it's raining gives you hope, I guess. That's their new tarp. Two balls, two strikes.
Steckenrider continues to hunt the top of the zone. Two-seam fastball, just a little bit too high. Harper's shown that he wants to swing up there.
Harper's home run in the fourth was his 150th of his career. Two. All right, so when it's raining and you want something to smile about, yeah, if raindrops were Skittles, this wouldn't be that bad.
Well done.
It's the perfect sponsor.
That's right.
2-2. Up the middle, Gordon backhands, fires to first just in time. Harper and his hair out at first. Marlins and Rockies on August 11th. And a Burger and Beer Friday, which includes a juicy hamburger, a craft beer, a game ticket, and it starts at $30. Go to marlins.com/burger to get your tickets. Ryan Zimmerman has walked and struck out. Atlanta, always a nice trip for Steckenrider. Grew up in that area. He's got a bright future. The Marlins very high on him.
I'm with you. And I'll tell you, the growth over the last 2 or 3 weeks has been impressive. That last ground ball was a changeup out of his hand to Harper. Wow. I mean, that's some great stuff right there. After challenging him 4 or 5 different times at the top of the strike zone with velocity at 95, 96 miles an hour, you can be hesitant to get out of your groove. He doesn't want to hang a slider. He hasn't shown one. He didn't want to throw one. Goes to the changeup and gets the ground ball out. It's big time stuff. That's right. That's his changeup at 90 miles an hour.
Zimmerman fouls that one out of play. Breaking ball, Zimmerman out on that front foot, swings and misses. 1-2-3. Drew Steckenrider continues to impress. In DC tonight, 4-game series starts. Nationals jump to a 2-0 lead. Marlins have tied it. It's 2-2. That youngster, an excitable boy, they all said. Tomas Telis, Micah Vilas, and in the pitcher spot. Now, how did the Marlins get their runs? If you're just tuning in, one in a way that you would expect and one in a way you'd never guess. Giancarlo Stanton, a 410-foot solo homer against Max Scherzer. That led off the 6th. And Odrisamer Despaigne with an RBI single in the 5th. That one caught the mask of Fielding Coolbreath.
But the job of Despaigne tonight. His job coming into the ball game and keeping things in check. As I mentioned many times, you went up against Scherzer. You're not looking to give up 2-3 runs. Of course, nobody is. But again, this Nationals lineup, very, very talented. He came into the ball game Beside the Harper home run, did a very nice job.
Scherzer is approaching 100 pitches. There's activity, but no throwing in the Nationals bullpen. That means guys starting their pre-pitch routine, stretching, general milling about. Right? I mean, look like you're doing something.
That's right, in the milling about part. I love it. That's right. I was thinking about baseball terminology. We used to call that like false hustle. You know what I mean? Just, look like you're doing it.
Junichi Tazawa in Miami's bullpen. Pitcher spot is due up third here in the 7th.
See the velocity from Scherzer even at the top of the zone at now 100 pitches, 97 miles an hour. He's truly one of the few in the game that does not show wear and tear from stressful innings the way that most do.
Little roller. Zimmerman streaks in and gets it. All right, we've heard him grunt a few times. One of the cool things about the All-Star game is that they had Max Scherzer mic'd up during the game. Have a listen. Pretty cool, huh?
Is it fair to say he's a pretty intense individual?
Yes. Yes, he is.
See the look in his eyes, the grunting at the same time. My goodness. That's what it takes to be one of the best.
He's still going strong right now. Aviles takes a firm fastball.
He continues to defy everybody's expectations. Continues to improve with age. Many around the game of baseball thought that Scherzer was going to wear down, that he passed 31, 32 years old, and that there would be a decline, that his mechanics would not allow him to continue to be as dominant as he was when he first came over. And he just continues to roll right along. That's that kinks in his neck. That's about it.
That is a great sign, and that's above the area out there where the Shake Shack is and the Blue Smoke Barbecue.
It's right up there with our disclaimer.
One blue eye, one.
I don't look out there too often. It's intimidating.
It is.
I don't like it. Like I said, it's like our disclaimer. Don't mess.
At least you're not looking at it from 60 feet away, which is even more terrifying.
It's true.
One brown, one blue.
Oh, the billboard out in right field, it's like he's staring at you no matter where you're sitting. He's sitting up in the 400 section over there. He's staring at you.
2-2. Wieters. So 60 feet 6 inches. Let's see if it's more intimidating than that sign. This is 95 in your ear, kid.
I'm in my right seat, right where I belong.
That's the amazing thing about him is he's got another gear. 97 this inning. Aviles bounces one to third. Rendon. Two outs. Here comes Ichiro.
Ichiro, very good career numbers against Scherzer. on the season. A lot of history, a lot of experience. 73 batting average against him. 18 pinch hits on the season for Ichiro. That leads Major League Baseball.
Ichiro climbing past Craig Biggio with his last hit. $3,061, 1,278 in Japan. Marlins, and of course Yankees and Mariners. And the Oryx Blue Wave, the team that kept him in the minor leagues because their manager said that that swing would never work. And Ichiro walks. Yeah, he didn't. When he signed with that team, the manager of that ball club did not like him.
How many times do you think he's heard about it in his life since then?
Well, as the story goes, Mike Maddox is on his way out. Ichiro's AAA manager, or the equivalent of a AAA manager, covered for him because they brought him up, they sent him down, and the manager told Ichiro and told the minor league manager, change your swing or you're never coming back. And so Ichiro went down, and the minor league manager pulled Ichiro into his office and told him, don't change your swing. You're going to be special. Don't listen to him. Don't change the swing. That manager got fired. The minor league manager got promoted, and guess what? Ichiro didn't have to change his swing. The bullpen showing that they are ready if Scherzer needs to come out. Ichiro's at first. Gordon, who was 0 for 3.
First pitch changeup to D. Gordon, 85 miles an hour, throwing a plethora of fastballs here this inning.
Chases Ichiro back. Well, Giancarlo Stanton is on deck. Stanton homered in the 6th. When you think about the last 3 starts that Scherzer has had against the Marlins, one was that near no-hitter. Remember, it was A.J. Ellis with a little tapper off his glove that broke it up. And then Stanton had that liner to left, which gave Miami the lead. And the Marlins ended up winning that ball game 2-1 after they were nearly no-hit by Scherzer, and Scherzer got the loss. And of course, his last start was less than a week ago. He throws a scoreless first. He hits a 3-run homer. His ball club has a 6-0 lead, and yet he has to leave with a spasm in his neck. And the Marlins came back and won that ball game. Scherzer was obviously not the pitcher of record. Crowd getting into it. Ichiro's at first. Counts 0-2 with 2 outs.
Let's see if D. Gordon can do what he did his last at bat, which is continue to fight Scherzer off. He fouled off about 4 or 5 pitches. Eventually threw out to right, but again, a quality at bat as he laid off some elevated fastballs. Got all the way back to 3-2.
ends his night with a strikeout of Gordon. This ball game in the hands of both bullpens, it feels like. 2-2, seventh inning stretch in D.C.
running, and when he ran the triple and he wound up scoring and he came in and we thought he looked hurt, so everybody was concerned, like, oh my God, now, we're gonna lose him this fast. He had his quad, it sinked in. It was like he blew out his quad where it was like a sinkhole, and this guy came back out there the next game and played through the whole series. And from that point on, nobody could make an excuse. And I think that's where the swag came from.
Darren Daulton. Baseball lost a couple of big names, great players, great men. Larry Anderson, his teammate, said he was the best teammate he ever played with. And a lot of guys around baseball echoed that today. And of course, in that 97 team, Gary Sheffield and the rest of the Marlins didn't lose him. In fact, he was great down the stretch, had a big World Series, and was part of that World Championship team. 2-2 here, bottom of the seventh. Rich Waltz along with Todd Hollingsworth and Jessica Blaylock. Don Baylor, the other legend who passed away today, as you see Tozawa warming up. Baylor, a great player, MVP, and a very good manager, great hitting coach as well. On a personal note, as a 12-year-old growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area, my buddy Evan Ham and I were big baseball fans, and his mom was a real estate agent. Here's a look at the tribute up on the scoreboard. Don Baylor was traded to the Oakland Athletics, and lo and behold, he needed a real estate agent. It happened to be my buddy's mom. And so every now and then we get a call, can you come to the game and babysit little Donnie? So we would go to the Oakland Coliseum and we'd watch Don Jr. and after the game we get to ride home with Don Baylor.
Wow.
How cool was that?
It's pretty awesome.
He
story.
he was a terrific guy, intimidating guy.
Well, I was going to ask, were those I mean,
that one gets off the glove of Dietrich. Murphy is out.
Wow.
Great play. Aviles picks up Dietrich. And Tozawa gets the first out of the seventh inning.
How about it? A little ricochet here off Dietrich in position. See off the glove, little Matador style. Aviles to the bare hand. Across the diamond to Talise. Murphy streaking down the line. Just by an eyelash. Well done.
Watch T. Gordon and listen. He He has some of the best reactions.
I'll tell you what.
Whether it's in the dugout on a home run or even out in the field on a big play.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this. This is how seriously the Marlins take their infield defense. There was no batting practice today. They saw the tarp on the field for most of the day. There was about a window of 45 minutes or so where the tarp came off the field before they put it back on. You know what Perry Hill had the boys doing out there?
Oh, yeah.
Taking ground balls. That's right. Went through a little mini infield today. Want to know why that play got made? There you go. Nice job, Perry.
Tazawa to Rendon.
Did you pick up any pointers on those rides? I mean, I can only imagine, because well, when Don Baylor was managing the Colorado Rockies, I was breaking in, and obviously, as I was telling you a little earlier, you know, both teams kind of always bump into each other around batting practice. Don Baylor is an intimidating person. I was intimidated by him as an early 20-something.
Yes.
I can only imagine as a 12 or 13-year-old what Don Baylor's presence would have felt like.
Well, it was better when they won.
Right.
When they lost, he wasn't real talkative. But yeah, we sat in the back, and the other cool part was he had like a Starsky and Hutch 70s hot rod that he would drive home, because he's a major league
He's a
player.
big guy, and he's a major leaguer. That's right.
That's what they drive.
Sure.
And I always enjoyed talking to him about that whenever I saw him in the major leagues. He'll be missed, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That one pulled foul.
Well, whenever they won.
Yes.
He's probably short on words when they did. See, it's funny because what I want to say is, Mars, are you listening right now? Because, yeah, see, we're all the same way. That's right. Our circuit boards are the same. If things don't go our way, we don't have a whole lot to say.
That last foul ball was a wicket angle. There it is.
Look at those instincts. It's got to be a big league third baseman over there.
He was hiding behind his first baseman.
That's right.
That one pulled foul. He went right back at him. You know, the Marlins coaching staff, if you were to take all the coaching staffs and have inter-squad games, coaching staff against coaching staff, the Miami coaching staff would be really good, right? I mean, you got Mattingly and Wallach, who were
You got no-hitters. You got
perennial all-stars and gold glovers.
That's exactly right.
Mike Pagliarulo. Freddie could catch. He was a catcher.
Sure. I mean, even showing Frank Medicino, Brian Snyder in the back there, a very nice career.
Well, you're right. Schneider would catch.
Right.
Frank Medicino would be up the middle.
Right.
The coaching staff was really good last year when Barry Bonds was the hitting coach in terms of how do you match up against the other coaching staff.
That's right.
Good breaking ball by Tazawa, and that's in the air. Real Muto tosses the mask and has it. And Junichi Tazawa has 2 outs here in the 7th. And here's Matt Wieters, RBI single, and he's ground out.
Good stuff from Tazawa. He's always keeping them off balance, setting up the split finger fastball. So far, so good. A couple of nice outings after having a bit of a rough stretch. He had 3 outings in a row where he gave up a run. Last 2 have been good. One against the Nationals, one against the Braves.
Wieters really hasn't had a great season, or a season I think that the Nationals had hoped for, because look, National fans and the Nationals themselves have been experiencing the Matt Wieters experience from a close range, right up the way in Baltimore.
Is it the Beltway here, I believe? Is that what they call it?
It's the Beltway Series, I think.
Oh, is that what it is?
Battle of the Beltway.
Well, Wieters is putting up similar numbers to last year as far as his OBP, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, similar. Obviously, home runs down just a little bit, although he's been hitting a few more doubles, but maybe that's the tell.
Tazawa trying to bring that fastball back, and he missed. Harlan Garcia is in the bullpen. 2-2. Max Scherzer. Then you see Brandon Kintzler, newly acquired, is ready to go. Scherzer at 114 pitches with Stanton coming up. All signs point to him being done. Tazawa gets back into the at-bat from 3-0. Although Scherzer doesn't put the jacket on, he's kind of going over at bats right now, like Adam Eaton there. Three-two. Little ground ball. That was actually Tanner Roark that was being debriefed by Scherzer.
Probably anticipating a start in this series. I believe he is due up. So maybe giving him a little bit of a download.
Yeah, it's Straley Roark on Thursday. Gio Gonzalez and Adam Conley on Wednesday. And tomorrow night, Marlins going with Vance Worley. A.J. Cole goes for Washington. Wieters won't go away.
Tazawa continues to work that outer lane, that outer third. Wieters pitches this at bat. Shot by Tazawa to get back into the count.
Three-two. Slowly tapped. Aviles on the run, throws out Wieters. Bullpen has been terrific. Giancarlo Stanton coming up. We're headed to our Fox Sports studios after this. Out in left field. one of the young Nationals, and Brandon Kintzler, one of the reinforcements for this Nationals bullpen.
He's been good since coming over. A couple of solid innings, couple of strikeouts. Yeah, hurdle number one was keeping this game close with Scherzer on the mound. Marlins, they most definitely have done that, thanks in part to a long home run by Giancarlo Stanton. Now, going after this newly formed Nationals bullpen. Got Doolittle down there, Kintzler, Madsen.
This was the 6th, and that was number 37.
Hey, Rich, it just continues to amaze me. The adjustments, in-game adjustments he makes. He's talked about it many times, how he's game planning, he's thinking more clearly, and he's executing. And I think that home run might be the best example of it all season that we've seen.
Florida Lottery in-game jackpot. Stanton at 37 leads the National League, leads baseball as well. Chopper slowly hit, Defoe charging, and just gets him. And here comes Yelich, who's 1 for 2 with a walk and a stolen base. Seven innings of Max Scherzer tonight. Five hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts.
You see the 2-seam fastball from Kintzler. So feature a 4-seam fastball as well. Slider and changeup. Very good at keeping the ball on the ground. 2-to-1 ground ball to fly ball ratio. He has a ground ball this inning.
First time All-Star, 6th year in the major leagues. Finds himself on a first place team headed towards October. I guess the question for the Nationals, did they do enough with their bullpen? And Yelich walks.
It's a great question, Rich.
RBI Baseball 2017 is out for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, iOS, and Android. Enjoy fast-paced pick-up-and-play MLB action. Learn more at RBIGame.com. That's the season numbers. With Madsen, Doolittle, and Kintzler, the hope is their strength in numbers.
Well, they've certainly gotten themselves better. There's no doubt their late game production should be better with the 3. Doolittle's already picked up 5 saves and 5 opportunities. Kintzler's had a nice season. He's been rolling here of late. Madsen's throwing the ball too. I think it kind of takes you back to the original question, which is how is their starting pitching going to be? You know, even if you're thinking if you're going into the postseason with 3 starters, Gio's having a fantastic year. Obviously, Scherzer is as well. Strasburg's health is the question mark, because I think with Strasburg, it's either Strasburg or Roark. But if Strasburg's healthy, obviously he's getting the start, and Roark becomes your long guy, so it shortens things up down there. Time will tell.
Ball and a strike. Ozuna an 0 for 3. Out into right. It brings Harper in. And he makes a catch. And JT Realmuto now with 2 outs. This was a Scherzer start. He was dominant early. Nationals put 2 up. Chris O'Grady started. Faced 5 hitters, got 4 outs, and left with a strained right oblique. He's listed as day-to-day. Odrisamer Despaigne came in and gave up a run in 3 2/3 innings, and as a special added bonus, knocked in the first run of the night for Miami. That's O'Grady in the 2nd inning. Now he stayed in for 1 pitch, and a frustrating night because this is back home for him. Hot smash. Rendon gets the out at second. 2-2, bottom 8 in DC. Let's do it. Max Scherzer. He's good for a reason. Chris O'Grady was good to begin with, and then on the 5th hitter, that oblique, Bryce Harper took Odrisamer Despaigne deep, and Despaigne got his revenge, driving in Miami's first run. And then Stanton, Scherzer, number 37 for Stanton. And it's up to the bullpens now. Brandon Kinsler has come in for the Nationals. The Marlins now will use their 4th reliever, and that includes 3 2/3 innings from Despaigne and scoreless innings each from Drew Steckenrider and Junichi Tazawa.
Here's Harlan Garcia, outstanding of late. Last 5 appearances, nothing, no runs to talk about, only strikeouts, no walks, scattered 3 hits. You see the good numbers on the season. He's done a fantastic job with that. Hitter's only hitting .193 against him. Second among all National League rookies. Good stuff from this young man.
Wilmer Defoe is up because of the double switch. Andrew Stevenson resides in the 9th spot in the order. And then you got Brian Goodwin. It was a weird day here in D.C. Very humid, and it rained. That one gets under the glove of Aviles. He wasn't going to get Defoe anyways. And that's a base hit. It wasn't hot and humid. It was just humid and rainy all day.
See the ground ball gets underneath the glove of Aviles into left field. Defoe, his second hit of the ball game.
Stevenson, the top choice of the Nationals in the 2015 draft. He was a second-round pick. Very athletic outfielder.
He's hesitating to show the bunt sign, but pretty sure this young man's going to be asked to put a sacrifice bunt down. Lefty on lefty.
Dusty Baker has always been one of the most stylish managers in the game. Toothpick, wristbands, sometimes batting gloves. He's had a remarkable career.
Certainly has.
As a player and as a manager. Stevenson's bunt. Garcia gets it, wheels and fires, and gets the out at first. So the Nationals get what they want. Moving Defoe to second. And here comes Goodwin. Well, one thing that I think we've seen over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it even stretches back a little further, but it's really magnified now, is guys like Steckenrider and Garcia are getting a chance to show that they belong in the big leagues. And they're getting a great opportunity. Now, Don Mattingly, I'm sure, would rather still have A.J. Ramos and David Phelps, but without them, higher leverage spots for Garcia. Certainly that's true of Steckenrider.
What you're really talking about is the opportunity. You're not babying your young men. You're not putting them in lower leverage situations.
Gordon has that ground ball. Goodwin is out. And Adam Lind looks like he's going to pinch hit. For Kendrick, now, excuse me, for the pitcher spot. In the double switch, this is the pitcher spot. So it is Lind. He's kind of been a hired gun in baseball over the last 3 years. Guy that'll come in and get you 20 home runs.
He's been getting it done as a starter and off the bench. 12 for 32, 375, double, 3 homers, 9 RBIs as a pinch hitter, but he's been struggling lately. Hitless in August. 0 for 13 this month.
You got Bryce Harper on deck. So Garcia and Lind. Bouncer first. Talise, he was straddling that line. There was nothing going to get between him and the chalk.
A pull hitter in Lind at the plate. Ball just foul.
Two bottom 8. Defoe 90 feet away. Garcia, the rookie, 0-2 on Lind. Up the middle into center. Nationals have the lead. An 0-2 pitch that he left out over the plate.
Not his best slider. Yeah, look at this slider. Wasn't able to get it out far enough. Let's see if we can get Lynn to chase. Unfortunately, catches too much of the plate.
What an incredible year he's had as a pinch hitter.
He really has. That's his 10th RBI, I believe.
He's hitting about 380 as a pinch hitter.
There's a weapon off the bench, even in a lefty-lefty matchup. And as I said, hitless this month comes through once again.
And Garcia has to regroup here. Edwin Jackson is going to come in and run. Garcia has to collect himself because you got a guy here that can lose one.
And that's the challenge, Rich. You talk about the growth. Being given more responsibility, you also have to get yourself out of some messes. Good pitch by Garcia. Have to be able to command both sides of the plate to Harper.
Adam Lynn has come through for Dusty Baker. Marlins rookie lefty Harlan Garcia is 1-2 on one of the most feared left-handed bats in the game, if not the most feared left-handed bat in the game.
That's about the area code. He was trying to get the slider that he missed with Lynn just off that corner and breaking away. Unfortunately, he just left it out over the middle way too much.
Two. Busted bat into center. Jackson's going to third. Harper has a hit, and it gets Zimmerman to the plate. There's nobody throwing in Miami's bullpen. So you got Zimmerman against Garcia.
He's rolled to the lefties. That's why Garcia was in the ball game. You wanted Garcia going up against the Nats lefties at the top of the lineup. In fact, you wanted him facing Lynn. Unfortunately, that's where this all started. Harper follows up with another base hit to center field on a slider.
So it's a one-run ball game right now. Don Mattingly is coming out to talk to the home plate umpire, fielding Colbreth. I'm not sure if they're saying, if they're talking about intentionally walking. They may be appealing second base, that maybe Edwin Jackson missed second base. Mattingly was pointing out to second. Real Muto now is looking into the dugout. I'm not sure exactly what that conversation was about, except that Mattingly did point towards second base.
Well, it was a short conversation and nothing's going to come of it. Jackson was peeking the whole time. I don't know if it was about second base, but he's now on third.
Zimmerman takes in. And look from there, It's hard to tell exactly, but it looked like he got the base. Umpire's looking right at it.
Couldn't even tell if D. Gordon was watching.
Zimmerman pops it up. Out into right. Stanton makes the catch. But the Nationals get a run. Top 9. The lefty Doolittle is coming in.
Miami Vice type shirts or jackets, and he came into the locker room with his hair kind of, slicked down, wet at times, and he was that guy, man. He was that guy that brought that leadership. He brought that something that we needed at the time, and I tell you what, when he came in, the team really started to take off.
Darren Dalton, world champion with the Marlins in '97, tragically passing away after a 4-year battle with brain cancer. 3-2. Sean Doolittle out of the Nationals bullpen. And of course, the Nationals plucking a pair out of Oakland's pen. Doolittle and Ryan Madsen, the slender right-hander. We've seen Brandon Kinsler. He, of course, came from the Twins. So it's a revamped bullpen for the Nationals, and the Marlins down to their last 3 outs, down a run. Miguel Rojas will take the at-bat. And a strike.
Doolittle's going to feature a lot of fastballs, always does. The occasional slider in there as well, 94 miles an hour. Not where he sits, likes to work the ball vertically with that fastball up and down in the zone. Elevated fastball is a good pitch for him. 5 for 5 in save opportunities with the Nats. There's that high fastball.
And he gets a strike as it hits Rojas's bat. And Doolittle's 0-2. Pitch is up. That was some swing by Rojas. It was on the fastball too. He fouled it back.
Well, sometimes pitch hitting, boy, it wakes you up pretty quick. Doolittle, you know you're going to get an awful lot of fastballs. 96 at the top of the zone, able to just get a piece. Oh, it's very good with 2 strikes. It's proven all season long that he can hit behind in the count.
One-two. Rojas in for a hit. Murphy can't pick it up. And Miami has some life here in the ninth. And so he's at first. Tomas Talis is coming up. Toyota brings you an inside look, brought to you by the all-new RAV4. Washington Nationals, you know, very similar to where they were last year. The biggest difference, you go down, it seems to be a better offensive team this year, but the ERA is almost a run higher this year as opposed to last year.
Well, and they truly believe they've addressed that issue with the bloated ERA. Majority of the blame goes to the bullpen. They've struggled mightily all season long, but don't believe that's the case now. Offensively, much, much better. Nearly 20 more home runs, higher batting average. I'll tell you, take the top 6 guys in this lineup, and you Nats fans will tell you, we'll put that up with anybody's top 6, including the Dodgers. They like their team.
Talis has doubled in 3 trips. Talis sends that one out into left center field. Goodwin streaks in and makes a catch. Brings up Mike Aviles. Remember, the Nationals last year in the postseason ran into the Dodgers in the division series and had a 2-1 lead in the best of 5 and ended up losing games 4 and 5. Scherzer actually started in game 5 and pitched pretty well, but it was the bullpen that faltered. And of course, the Dodgers brought in Clayton Kershaw to close and finish that game 5. Tyler Moore on deck. Aviles has bounced to the left side 3 times. Harper.
Can't corner to right. Pushes down to their last out. Moore does not come through.
Moore, the former National, and trying to recapture that stroke that he had in the first half. And he came up with a lot of big pinch hits and hits when Justin Bour was down for a bit.
Been very good this season as a pinch hitter.
Well, this is what Mike Rizzo was hoping for, the general manager of the Nationals. Kinsler handles the 8th. Doolittle's here in the 9th. Miguel Rojas at first. Tying run, 3-2. Nationals got a run in the bottom of the 8th.
Tyler Moore is a pinch hitter this season. 9 for 34, 3 doubles, home runs, 7 RBIs, 265 batting average. He's come through many times, including right here at Nats Park earlier this season.
Two and 1. He certainly has the power to knock one out of here.
That's what Doolittle will do. One of the very, very few changeups he'll ever throw. Just threw it right there in the hitter's count. Tyler Moore.
Crowd on their feet. 2-2 pitch. And Moore stays alive. 3 runs, 7 hits for Washington. 2 runs, 6 hits for Miami. Marlins have another home run from Giancarlo Stanton, equaling his career high of 37. But an Adam Lynn pinch hit RBI single with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th is the difference. Doolittle to Moore.
96 on the fastball.
Doolittle really likes to elevate with the fastball with 2 strikes. He thinks for a second you're on him, though. He may drop in that changeup. Let's see.
Moore's not going away, fouls it back. Doolittle is from these parts, New Jersey, where he went to high school, and then the University of Virginia. He was the career RBI leader and had 21 wins as a pitcher. ACC Player of the Year. Two. He stayed fastball right now with Moore.
A good battle going on. We're able to foul off a tough changeup, slowed his feet down. Right there, Doolittle tried speeding him back up again with the fastball. See if he stays with the pattern or chooses to elevate.
Nationals win it. The Marlins come up a run short. Game 1 goes to Washington.
Big pinch hit by Adam Lind in this ball game. Done it many times this season. His 10th RBI in the season.
Back to wrap it up from DC after this.